Hello everyone, Mark here, Mark's Max Muscle, and today we are revisiting the 2024 Mr. Olympia event. We will be looking at all of the 8 mandatory poses one by one, and I will give you my opinion on who has the best one. Say for instance the front double bicep pose, which we will be starting with. Who hits the best front double bicep pose? These ones all look pretty darn good, I have to say. So it will be a difficult decision for sure. But what makes this even more difficult and dubious, love that word, I'm going to give you my opinion on who hits the least best, or that awful evil word, worst. Who hits the worst front double bicep pose? So without further ado, let's begin. Like I said, the front double. This is a tough one. There's a few good ones. Definitely hard not to mention Samson Dauda. He'd probably win in the eyes of the judges. He's the biggest guy, probably the most conditioned as well. Is he my favorite in the front double? No. Akeem Williams will also get some votes because he has the best arms. That's right. Line them all up. Akeem Williams, the beast himself. He has the best arms, but most certainly, in my opinion, that is, not the best front double. Now, take a look at John Jewett, if you will. Akeem Williams, the best arms in the Olympia lineup? Gotta mention John Jewett. Might not have the balance of the triceps and biceps, but man, those are some Arnold Schwarzenegger type bicep peaks. So one of my personal favorites for sure. But I think the easy answer here is Jacked. Andrew Jacked. I believe that Andrew Jacked hits the best. And don't be confused with who the judges would probably give it to. They'd probably give it to Samson, because he's more conditioned. But in my opinion, the best front double bicep pose is from Andrew Jacked. And now, this is a little bit tricky, a little bit awkward for me, but here's the worst. It's in my contract, I have to say worst. It's the worst front double bicep pose of the 2024 Mr. Olympia. Bruno Santos, I apologize. It's still a good pose. And you compare the best with the worst, and it's not that much of a difference. You look at the old 70s Olympias, especially when there was like Reg Lewis's and things of that nature competing in there. Sorry, Reg. Write a bunch of apology letters after this one. Mawadak. Go to the front lat spread. Now, this is a tougher one to judge, I would think. We have Rafael Brandao, we have Samson Dauda and Andrew Jacked, and I'm sure in most cases you guys are going to say, well, Andrew Jacked. But if you look at his front lat spread from this particular event, it's not the best. It's not my favorite. Not at all. Samson's better than his. For sure it is. And Samson's not 100% symmetrical in his shot. Well, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Rafael Brandao, he looks awesome. And personally, maybe my favorite out of the bunch. But you know what? Right when you think you know the answer, I change the question altogether. In my opinion, that's right. Good old Chris Bumstead has the best front lat spread of all the Olympians. Classic physique, open class, 212, even the ladies divisions. And they got some good front lat spreads, but Chris Bumstead, and this is a rare case. It's not going to happen again, if you know what I'm saying. Nobody else but Chris Bumstead could have the best pose of everybody. Bonak's the worst. That's it. I respect you, Bonak, so I'm going to keep this quick. Go to the side chest, for goodness sakes. And a lot like the front double, there's a lot of good side chests. And considering this is just an opinion of mine, it would be interesting to see other people's opinions on who hits the mandatory shots the best. Like Rafael Brandao, how can you go wrong with that? And then you got Hunter Labrada beside him, and Samson Dauda, he's great. Even Derek and Hattie. And you got Martin Fitzwater. Oh, who's there at the end? Anyway. Here's probably my 4 favorite. And you may notice I tossed in Brandon Curry. And sure, he didn't place very high, but in terms of this side chest pose, this is premium stuff. Would he win the pose? Again, probably not because of the lower half. Probably losing in that aspect. But proportions, all those things, all that nature, Brandon Curry is primo stuff. Now there's John Jewett. Hold on. I'm not saying he's winning. I like Curry. But take a look at John Jewett if you will. And you tell me, is this not one of the best side chests at the Mr. Olympia event? And no, he didn't place very high. In fact, he placed well below Andrew Jacked. And Andrew Jacked, in my opinion, hits the least best. I'm not even going to hit him with the W word. He hits the least impressive. And it's funny. I mean, you compare the two. I mean, sure. I'm not going to argue. Andrew Jack beat John Jewett, for sure. But not in the side chest, he didn't. And you can't sit there with your bare face hanging out and tell me that he is beating him in the side chest. He ain't. Even though ain't might not be a word, but he is not. He is not. Here's the side tricep. And you could imagine, in the days of old, back in England or something, when kid would go off to school and he'd come back home and his father would say, he ain't. And they say, but father, it is not ain't, it is proper to say, is not. They'd give him the back of his hand. Don't you speak against me. Psh. Don't forget where you get your supper from. Yeah, the side tricep, it's kind of not a closed contest, but in my opinion, I think these two guys are head and shoulders above all else. You got Rafael Brandao, not the biggest bus in the garage, but just as perfect as the day is long. And Hunter Labrada, he is a true stud. A true stud. Just a little bigger in the wheels, a little bigger in the arms, just probably not as pretty in the shot. But at the end of the day, this is bodybuilding, not a beauty contest. Well, it's kind of a... Yeah, so I think Hunter Labrada has the best side tricep. It's more of a beauty contest than a weightlifting competition, I can tell you that much, for free. But yeah, Hunter Labrada, he's had the best side tricep in the IFBB now for quite some time. And in terms of the side tricep, are we going to give that W? Which is not a good one in this video. The W means worse, not win. We going to give it to Andrew Jacked? No, that wouldn't be very fair. This dude here, I mean, all the leg size in the world, even the arms aren't bad. But Mo Foda, in my opinion, this is the least impressive side tricep, if you line them all up. And again, it's not the muscle, it's the midsection. A little more striations would be nice to see. You'll be right there in the hunt. Mo. Here's the back. And I think this is a closed case. And I think this has been a closed case for years now. The best lat spread has been since maybe even 2019 and still remains to be Hadi Chopin's. He's not the tallest, as you could see from the lineup, but probably even the widest. And his conditioning can't be questioned. Well, I think I question his left glute. Little soft, but still, you can't go wrong with the Hadi Chopin rear lat spread. A couple of them are close, but I don't know. I could say nobody's even close to him in this rear lat spread, and nobody would really argue with you. Now, in terms of the worst, this just makes me feel bad. But Akeem Williams, one of my favorite bodybuilders ever in the grand scheme of things. I was watching bodybuilding when he started, come up, and then, he's in his prime now, his stride, and still doing good. But man, that back lat spread was the least impressive of this event. That's for darn sure. Now, what about the rear double? I sure hope he doesn't get the rear double. worst shot too. There's a lot of good ones, but much like the rear lat spread for Hattie Shupin, I think it is a closed case unless your Nick Walker's hanging around, in which case, yeah, he would have one of the best. But ultimately, Derek Lunsford, even placing third, you line them up in this shot and he still has the most impressive rear double bicep, the thick lat insertions. This truly is, guys, we are in the presence of one of the greatest back double bis. And this is maybe one of my best poses, or one of my favorite poses of all time. I like the front lat spread. I like the rear double. Oh, if I ranked my poses, it would be an interesting video, I think. But the rear double of Derek Lunsford, Brother Derek the Great. I mean, find a weakness here. Arms, calves, glutes, back itself. Awesome, awesome. Oh, come on, guys, come on. Give him a break. Now, the thing about Hakeem, it's his back alone, because he has the best arms. You could have put somebody else in here. Really? Nobody else? Yeah. I guess everybody had a pretty good back double. Everybody had a pretty good pose. Kind of had to throw Hakeem in here. He has good condition. That's for sure. So, take it for what it is, guys. Love you, Hakeem. I love you. And in the abs and thigh. We're not going to see Hakeem in this one, that's for sure. There's a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones. Even Rafael Brandao there at the end. He should be better at this shot. Hunter. I mean, Samson was greatly improved. Of course, pulling a vacuum right here. Derek Lunsford, not known for his. And who's that guy? Is that Hattie doing a vacuum? Is his any good? Is his abs and thigh any good, guys? And who's that guy beside Martin Fitzwater? You know who it is. It is Andrew Jacked. And Andrew Jacked and Hattie Shupin, nobody even comes close to these Clydesdales. And admittedly so, I'm sure Andrew Jacked, he was not 110%. He was pretty darn good. I mean, this is incredible, guys. But if he was even sharper, it would be no contest. But Hattie Shupin, he's in better condition, so it makes it more of a matchup. But ultimately, yeah, you lose that argument. And if you're myself and you're arguing Hattie has a better one, yeah, I'm going to lose that argument almost every single time. Andrew Jacked has the very best abs and thigh pose at the 2024 Mr. Olympia event. Who had the worst? Was it Derek? I know you guys are going to say, oh, it was Derek. Derek Lunsford's abs and thigh pose. It was bad last year. Real bad. But this year was far from the worst. Far from the worst. So I have to mention that. The guy deserves a little bit of respect for the improvements that he made in that particular pose. Have a look at poor Mo Foda. It's not even a double arm overhead. You deduct more points from him there. And that midsection, I mean, you remember what Derek's looked like compared to this? You think Derek's is worse than this? And, Hunter! What did you do? Wow. This is the finals. This is the worst abs in the I have at the Olympia. Anyway. A little bit of a dubious. And we're finishing off with the most muscular. And this in particular pose was less interesting. Everybody kind of, they don't all look the same, but they're all pretty impressive. And depending on your mood, what flavor you prefer, almost anybody could have won this one. In this lineup anyway. Even Andrew Jacked. Even though he's probably criticized for that pose, but put them hands on them hips, and man, oh man, he makes everybody look small. I'm going to go with Hattie Shupin. I think he takes everybody out in terms of chest and abs and the quads. You throw it all in there, and I mean, come on. The arms, far from the best. I'll tell you that right now. And a guy like Hunter Labrada can expose him, for sure. So if you picked Hunter, you can't be wrong. You can't go wrong. And since not everybody hit the crab position, you can't really compare crab poses. So that's a little bit disappointing. We got to bring that back. Got to hit that crab. Make it a mandatory. Huh? Oh, Theo, Le Guerrier. He makes an appearance for some reason, and his midsection's not bad at all. But when he goes to hit this hands on hips deal, just not the best at all. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty darn good pose, and so are all of these so-called worst poses. It just so happens that the best ones are just that much better. And that is it for this one. Ladies, gentlemen, everybody in between, I hope you enjoyed this one. Hattie Shupin, I mean, this is a couple of levels ahead of Theo in the conditioning. Just rip to shreds, Monsoon. Monsoon, Gorilla. Too smooth, Monsoon. But yes, missize this for sure. Theo Le Guerrier is actually a big dude. All the way big dude. Wah wah wah, or le wah wah, le wah wah, le wah wah. C'est français, hein? Est-ce que je peux? Le citrouille, les oiseaux, le citrouille. Alright, guys, hit thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Have a nice one.